Hey guys, Julian here, and today I am going to be making an acid techno track from start to finish. So, if you want to hear the finished track, you can skip to the timestamp at the top of the description. I will give you a moment to do that. And yeah, so, as always, you can get the project files and samples and MIDI and presets, all that kind of stuff that I'm going to create in this video in the description, so make sure to check for that. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it'll be available there shortly as well. And yeah, let's get started. So, to start off with here, I've actually prepared a MIDI file. Basically, I'll play it for you real quick. So you can hear we have this little 303 acid kind of pattern. And yeah, I'll show you the notes here. It's not that hard to write these kind of patterns. I sometimes have a bit of trouble with them. And I know a lot of you guys do as well, but it's actually not that complicated. Like, you can see this is all in A. That's one thing I've noticed. A lot of these tracks, like, a lot of times for bass and stuff, people will say, like, you know, the best keys are, like, F or E or something like that because you can get really low bass notes. But for 303s, it tends to be, like, A and, like, A sharp and B and C, and around there is really good. But yeah, like, you can see this, it's just jumping between the octaves. Like, for example, here, like, we have A, and then A an octave up, and then A an octave up from that, and then that's just A sharp. So, like, really simple, just A with one semitone up, and then we have a G, G there, A. Like, it's not really that complicated. It's just kind of like knowing how to play around with it. And I think the rhythm is really important as well. And something else you'll see here too is I don't have any of the notes over or like touching each other. Like you can see, like those three, for example, they don't touch each other. I have them kind of like cutting right before the end there. So that's another thing with the 303 pattern. It makes it more like choppy. Like you can hear. It doesn't have as much of that same kind of like choppy vibe to it. So yeah, there's the pattern. Like I said, it's not that complicated. If you want this one, it is available in the description, like I said, or if you're a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, so I'm going to make the sound here. So what we have going on here is I have operator. You can see I've just got a saw wave here. This is the sound that you've been hearing. I figured I would just kind of have this set up so you could hear it when I first started. But yeah, we just have a saw wave. You can also see I have the voices set to 1, meaning it's monophonic, only one sound, or only one note can be played at a time. And then I have the glide on. So that's where you see like these overlapping notes, like this first little, that wow, like those kind of things. Those are also really important for the 303 sound. And yeah, definitely adding the glide on there is really important to get those kind of like sliding notes. But yeah, so we're going to make a 303 out of this, because right now it's just a saw wave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the filter. And we're going to go for a bandpass here. And so the key for the 303 sound is a saw wave. Sometimes a square wave can work as well. Usually it's like a saw wave going into either a low pass or a bandpass filter with a ton of resonance. So we're going to turn the resonance up here. And you can hear we're already starting to kind of get something here. So I'm going to add this envelope here. Okay, cool. So we're starting to get somewhere. So I'll play around with this. Alright, there we go. Yeah, and you can see this isn't exactly the 303 sound just yet. It's getting there, but it's not quite it. So what we're going to do is we are going to add a bit of overdrive on here. And we're going to turn this filter, the resonance up. And there we go. Now we're starting to get a pretty good 303. Like you can hear it actually sounds like a 303 now. Alright, there we go. That's starting to get somewhere. We'll turn. The thing with the 303 is it can be a bit of a tough sound to get, like, to really get, like, a nice sounding one. Like, of course, you know, like, this is a good approximation, but it's really, like, it can be very kind of subtle details that get in the way of you making a really, really good 303 sound. Like, you see, like, even just turning the envelope amount up a little bit makes a huge difference. So it's kind of just one of those things, you gotta sit and fine tune it a little bit. But I like this so far. Let's add a bit of drum bus to it to kind of fatten it up some more. That sounds good. And I'm gonna put some echo on there as well before the drum bus. I like putting a little bit of delay of some sort on the 303. It can get a little bit too like dry if you just have it by itself. We can hear that those echo tails really bring it to life. Cool, sounding pretty good. So from here I'm going to put some EQ on it. I'm going to cut out the low end. Usually in these kind of tracks, like where you have a 303 like this is obviously a bass line, but it's not really like the bass. Like it's not the thing that's really doing like the deep, deep low end. So we're going to just cut out some low end on this. We're still keeping those kind of fat low mids, but yeah. Cool, that sounds pretty good. So I believe at this stage, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get a kick. So I have a sample prepared here. It's this one kick. I'll show it to you. Just like a pretty punchy kind of standard kick you would use. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a rumble kick out of this. So I'm going to actually turn the gain up a little bit. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to just make, like I said, like a big warehousey rumble kick. And so for this style, you know, these kind of kicks definitely work really well. Like just the really just like super hard hitting kind of techno kicks. It fits really, really well under the 303. Like the 303, if you think of it kind of like in steps, the 303 is really like one step away from the kick, sonically speaking and like frequency-wise, meaning that you can blend them together really well because you get the really, really thick, deep low end from the kick, and then the 303 comes on top and it's got like some kind of fatter stuff that doesn't really get in the way of the kick if you know how to mix them. But yeah, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to get an audio effect rack, and we're going to, actually before I do that, I'm going to get a drum bus. There we go, just fatten it up a little bit. And then, yeah, we're going to get an audio effect rack, and we will put that into the drum bus. We're going to make 2 chains here. There we go. And then we'll name this first one Dry, and we're going to name the second one Rumble. On the Rumble chain, what we're going to do is I'm going to get a simple delay. And we're going to link the left and right ear. So it's just mono, basically. Just going like 16th notes. Like that. We're going to turn the dry wet all the way up. And we're going to turn the feedback up a little as well. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do here is we're going to put an amp on it. And let's use the blues setting. And then the last thing we're going to put on there, actually the second to last thing, is a low pass filter. We're going to just... There we go. Now we have a rumble kick. There we go. And sometimes you gotta play around with the envelope of the kick a little bit. But yeah, so the one last thing I'm gonna do on here is you can hear the rumble is bleeding into the dry kick and vice versa a little bit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a compressor on the rumble. And I'm going to sidechain it to the dry kick. So what we can do here is we can just select the kick for the sidechain input here. And then if we do pre-effects, it'll basically do it before this rumble. So you're just sidechaining it to the kick coming out of this simpler. So now... sounding pretty good. Awesome. So yeah. There we go. And a lot of times, you know, people will use like reverb for rumble kicks. Like we could actually do that here maybe, but I like using the simple delay. You can hear the reverb's kind of like, but the delay kind of has more of like a. Like I feel like it kind of makes it more intense and aggressive. And with this style, you know, we're definitely trying to get that kind of more like aggressive, like hard hitting feel. But yeah, so we'll work with the kick a little more. I'm going to put a saturator on going into the whole rumble business. We're going to turn on this wave shaper. Alright, let's go on to the drum bus here as well. And we're going to turn this up. I'm just going to use the boom. We're going to tune it to A because that's the key we're in. And there we go. That just kind of adds back a little bit more low end. Alright, cool. There we go. Again, in this kind of a track, the kick is really going to be where the like low end, like the real sub frequencies are. So we really want to get that nailed in before we get too far with this. Cool. Well, this is sounding pretty good here. I'm also gonna check and see where the master is hitting. I say this a lot in these track from scratch videos, but basically, you know, when you're working on your song, you don't want it to be hitting louder than like -5 or -6 or like even maybe -4 is fine. But like, yeah, so we're gonna turn this down a bit. And there we go. We have a pretty good foundation for the mix. And I apologize if this video is getting quieter and louder as well. It's hard to do gain staging inside of OBS while I'm doing gain staging inside of Ableton. But yeah, so. I'm going to fan up this 303 a little bit. Let's put some saturation going into the drum bus. Yeah, that sounds good. That's pretty good. I'm also going to try grabbing that compressor that's side chaining the rumble to the kick. I'm going to try side chaining the 303 as well. Hey, sounds pretty good. Yeah, there we go. And that helps to kind of keep it under control of the kick a little bit as well. Cool. So from here, what I'm going to do is I am going to add in actually some hi-hats. I have a few here. I have these shakers as well. And I'm going to just play around here and try to come up with something because obviously we need some hi-hats, you know? We don't want it to just be this the whole time through. So let's add this first one here. That sounds good. Cool, and now I'm going to do a technique here with the shaker where I'm going to get... Let's try this one. Maybe this one. Yeah, let's use this one because they're a lot more different. They're very different, like, sonically. Well, what's going to happen here is we're going to have this hi-hat just really simple, just going... It's going to be straight down the middle. But then the shaker, what we're going to do is we're going to put an auto pan on here. And with the auto pan, I'm going to set the rate to 8th notes. And I'll show you. If we set it to the saw waveform here, if I turn the amount up, now we have the shaker going like from the left to the right ear. And then if we layer those, now we just have this really wide thing. So kind of helps to make those hi-hats stand out a bit, and then we can kind of... So yeah, you can hear when I'm turning that on and off there, that really makes a big difference. then let's group those together as well. I'm going to put a bit of high pass on there. And let's saturate those together a little bit as well. Not like a whole lot. But that's good. Awesome. Well, this is sounding pretty cool. Let's add some more hi-hats. I have this one, which I think will be good for the upbeats. And what we'll do with this one is, yeah, so we'll put that on the upbeats. Cool, and then let's group that together with the other hi-hats that we made. And then I'm also going to, let's get a high pass on that because it does kind of have some like stuff going on the low end. And we'll put some drum bus, not corpus. We're going to put some drum bus on the group of these hi-hats as well. Which you can tell definitely makes everything sound quite a bit fatter. Cool, so let's turn all this down a little bit. Again, we got to keep the gain down because otherwise the whole thing is going to be clipping when we go to master it. Cool, I like where this is going. I want to try taking this shaker, this one, and I want to try adding this in here. Like, it's not going to be playing at the same time as any of the other ones. What we're going to do is we're going to just have this kind of come in kind of like that, like as just like this little extra count that hits there in between some of the notes. Yeah, there we go. Cool, I'm gonna mix this cake a little bit more. I think I need to turn down the rumble. Alright, sounds pretty good. So from here, we have some pretty solid percussion going on, you know. Pretty good ideas. I think I want to try and do some synthesized percussion. And basically what I'm going to do here is we're going to pull up operator. And we're going to just get some white noise. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do here. I just want to do something kind of creative. So let's get a band pass. Give me a bit of this. Yeah, okay, cool. Something like that. Like, you know, just something a little extra in here. Like, I like kind of combining the percussion that is synthesized and just kind of like samples, as opposed to just having one or the other. Yeah, that's cool. And then we can kind of play with that sound a bit more, you know. We will do something like that. And let's try putting that through some saturation. Oh, there we go. That sounds cool. Good way to kind of bring out the percussiveness. Nice, let's put some delay on there as well. That's really going to help. Drum bus. Nice, let's try putting that in the percussion group. Alright, sounds pretty tight to me. So, I believe what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to group the kick and the 303 together. You know, it's kind of like how we grouped the hi-hats and the percussion together. It's like we're taking all these similar things and putting them in the same group. And when you do this, oh, there we go, it makes everything sound a little more cohesive. Like, it makes it all kind of fit under that same sort of umbrella of, like, the processing you're putting on it. Like, here's without the drum bus. And with it, so you can really hear the difference there. Let's also put a bit of EQ in it. Nice. Alright, so then we're going to do a similar thing here with the low end, which is basically the kick and the 303. So we're going to put some drum bus on here. There we go. Got to turn that down a bit. Cool, and then we're also going to put a bit of EQ8 on there because we need to kind of tighten it up. I'm going to do a cut around like here. We're going to give it a low end boost. And then a high end boost. I'm also going to actually try. Okay, there we go. So I've just got these two EQs. Basically, this one is just doing this little mid-range cut. This one also is. And then on the last one, on the second one, we just have a low end boost and a high end boost. So basically, I'll kind of show you the difference here. It's just kind of hoping to scoop out those like kind of low mid-range frequencies that are kind of messy. They get kind of muddy and get in the way of everything else. Cool, so I'm also going to probably let's do like one more little operator percussion. I'm going to pull up another operator here, and we're going to get some white noise. And then, there we go, and then we can get a band pass. There we go, and then let's put some saturation on that one. There we go, that has a cool texture. Let's put a bit of echo on there as well. Nice. Okay, yeah. So again, it's a really good blend of like synthesized percussion and percussion samples. Cool. So something I want to add here. There we go. Something I want to add here is maybe a bit of some more like high-end stuff. Like right now, all we have here is just really basses, like the kick, the 303, and then some percussion. We need some more kind of like musical stuff. So the first thing I'm going to put in here is a pad, and we're going to make this using analog. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over this. Ideally, this would kind of be like the drop. But we still need to have some other stuff like in the breakdown and like in maybe later parts of the drop and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to make everything kind of in this 8-bar loop, and then when I go to arrange it, it's going to all be, I'm going to move it all. Like, it's kind of like when you do a painting, I'm going to say this a lot, but when you do the painting, you don't just like start by putting colors on the canvas. You start by mixing up some colors, kind of getting your palette together, getting an idea for things, and then you go from there into like actually painting the picture. But you first kind of set up your colors. That's what we're doing right now. We're setting up the color palette, and then we're going to use it to paint this picture pretty soon. But yeah, so let's just put in like an A minor here. I'm going to make something like this where it's A, and then we'll have C, and then that little B underneath there like this. So we get that like really, really dark kind of vibe. And then let's do another A an octave down, and then we'll do... There we go. So then we have E. So it's a really simple chord. It's just basically A minor. We just have A, the root note, E, which is the fifth, and then A, again, another root note, and then we just have C, which is the third. Like, all of these could just fit into this basic A minor thing. I've just kind of spread it out. And then there's also the B, which is just one semitone down from the third. That's not technically in the chord, but you know. Simple stuff. So, let's go here and play with the sound. I'm going to turn this amp envelope like this. And then let's turn this down a little. Cool, and then I'm going to put some unison on here. And some vibrato. And let's turn the filter down a bit. Turn off the envelope. And then let's also put a little bit of the LFO on the filter so it's kind of moving and it's not just staying in the same place. That sounds good. And I'm going to put some EQ8 on here and cut out some low end. Put some chorus on it as well. I'm going to detune the oscillators. And we'll put that one up an octave. Let's sidechain that to the kick as well. I'm probably going to end up, you know, kind of... Alright, that sounds pretty good. Let's put some reverb after the chorus going into everything. And I'm also going to add a bit of drum bus as well. Even though this is a pad, you know, you still want to fan it up. Awesome, sounds pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to add here is I have this little string sample. And what we're going to do is I'm going to add in like a high string. And the way we're going to do this is basically you can see if I just play this now, it's not going to loop. It's just going to go through the sample. And then it just ends and that's it. And if we just turn on the loop, what happens? As you can see, it just gets to the end here. And then it just goes right back. So what we need to do to make this a smooth, endless kind of thing is we're going to use this fade. And so what we're going to do is we're going to turn the fade all the way up. And you'll notice nothing happens. The reason for this is because you have to turn the length and the start time down. So if we turn the length down and then turn the start time up, you can see those start coming in. If I turn the fade off, they don't. But yeah, if we turn the fade up now... It's an endless loop, so we have this cool kind of endless string sample. So I'm going to just put in something that's just playing like a drone here. That's basically all this is going to do. It's probably going to be in the break. Might bring it in during the drop. We'll see. But yeah, and let's grab the sidechain for that real quick as well. Or just copy it. Put some reverb on it. We can also play the fifth like that, which will be E, but let's see. about this is it's like kind of working with the pad. Like the pad is good in the lower mid-range and all, but it's not really like got like anything super bright. So this kind of helps to fill out the frequency spectrum a little bit more. Alright, let's keep it in that octave. Cool. So I have one more thing I want to bring in here, which is a stab. Basically, if you don't know what a stab is, I'll show you. I have this one here. It's like a little, chord stab like this. Like basically a sample of one chord. It's used a ton in techno. It's very popular in this style of techno. It's kind of one of those more like old school kind of 90s things. But you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. And yeah, so I have this one. It's cool. It's got that super like dark minor feel. So we're just going to play around with this a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. I kind of like how that's being sidechain. That sounds cool. So, yeah, you can hear this just adds another kind of thing. Like, it's important when you're making this style not to just make it about the 303. It can become really, really boring. I mean, there are some tracks where having, like, just the 303 works, but, like, usually it gets kind of boring, I feel like. So, having, all these different things kind of playing off of each other makes it more interesting. Alright, cool. So, at this stage, I'm going to do a little bit more to the stab here. Give it some echo. And then we'll put some EQ8 on there, just cutting out the low end. I'm going to put a bit of drum bus as well, just kind of fattening it up. Cool. So at this stage, it is now time to begin doing the arrangements. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take everything we made here, and I'm going to just move it over here just to put it in one spot. And what we're going to do is we are going to just start the track. I'm just going to grab one element. In this case, it's going to be the kick, and we're going to just get going. And the thing is, it can be hard to start a track sometimes. Like when you make an 8-bar loop like this, and you're just trying to make it into a full song, it can be a little hard, like I said, to just go from, okay, this is a loop to a song. This is how you do it. You just need to pick something and just get started. Like, you just don't even think about it. Just grab something. So in this case, it was the kick. So we'll start with the kick. And then let's also grab one of the hi-hats for this. Like, we'll get this one. Cool, and then I'm going to just start bringing some things in here as it goes on. So what we'll do is we'll get the 303, and we'll kind of like tease it. Yeah, that sounds cool. And let's start bringing that in here, actually. And then we'll have the auto filter kind of like start bringing it in. I'll just use a low pass. And we can just kind of start, like I said, just slowly bringing it in. Like, we don't want to get too crazy. We just want to kind of let it come in naturally like this. Cool, maybe we'll put in a few more notes there, like. Yeah, let's do that. And then to copy this over, I'm going to just slide this over. There we go. Alright, cool. And then we'll have like the full stuff come in here maybe. Let's see. We can copy over these hi-hats. Now we'll just have the full pattern happen there. You know, sometimes I like to take a little bit of time and kind of like tease it throughout the track, but I think going from this all the way into here. Yeah, there we go. You know, it's all about getting that like rolling kind of vibe going. Well, cool, so let's do that, and then from there, we're going to start bringing in the string. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to have the string kind of filter in as well. So we'll have this kind of with like a low pass on it. The low pass will automate the frequency to go up. And again, it's like slowly building, just like with the 303. Let's get these percussions in here. Cool, okay, so then what we're going to do in this last part here is I'm going to have the kick filter up. So we're going to put an EQ8 on the kick, and we're going to just make it into a high pass. Like that. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to turn that off, and then we're just going to automate it to come on in this last little 2 bars here. So this is kind of a good way to transition out of the intro. We have the whole 32 bar intro, so it's enough for DJs to mix in. But now we can kind of like... Yeah, like that, exactly. Cool. So what we're going to do here is we're going to duplicate this 303 into the break. We're also going to duplicate the string into the break. And something I'm going to do here, and it's going to become very important in a moment, is I'm going to turn on the automation lock. So basically what this says is if you duplicate something without this, you can see it duplicates the automation. If we turn on the automation lock, then if we duplicate this, the automation doesn't come with it. So we're going to do that with the string. Cool, and then we're going to have this pad kind of start coming in during this break here. So we'll just have like, again, a low pass filter, just bringing it in. It's not hard. It's simple stuff. And then maybe we'll have it just kind of go down here. There we go. We'll have all these things kind of like just slowly kind of go out during the break. Awesome. So yeah, so you can see, like, for this automation here of these things, I'm not like it's not that hard. It seems hard to write these kinds of things, but it's not that complicated. I'm just sort of like trying to do it, as I hear it and as it sounds good. And it's like the best way to really do it is to just listen to the track. Like, just listen through what you're automating and just do it while you're listening. You don't need to sit there and spend like a million years going back and forth. Like, all you have to do is just listen, and while it's going, just quickly click those little bars and move them, and you'll usually come up with something pretty good. But yeah, so next thing that I think I'm going to do here before I move forward is I'm going to give the 303 some automation. So a big part of the 303 sound is you need to be constantly moving the filter frequency. And I'm not just talking about the filter that was kind of slowly bringing this in the intro. Let's change the color of that. There we go. I'm talking about the bandpass filter that's going into all this distortion, because this is what really makes it sound interesting. Like, you'll see, like, I'll tell you, really keep it going throughout the track. So we're going to try some automation on for this one. So I'm going to just turn off this low pass, just because I want to be able to hear it the whole way through. And I'm just going to slowly do some stuff while this is playing here. So we're just kind of constantly moving it here. There we go. And yeah, we can just kind of keep going through here. And again, I'm just doing it as I hear it. Like, I'm trying not to keep it, I'm trying not to make it too uniform. I'm trying to make everything, have a lot of variance and kind of just be changing up quite a bit. So we can turn that low pass back on as well. There we go, trying to make that a little smoother. But yeah, cool. So that sounds pretty good. So again, the automation really brings it to life. Like, if you ever are using a 303 sound and you just keep it in the same place the whole song, like, it's just like, why even use it? Like, that's the whole point. Like, it's supposed to be really moving and changing a lot. Cool. So I'm going to get rid of these hi-hats here, and I think when it drops, it's going to be just the kick and the 303. Hey, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened there. The camera cut out. Anyway, like I'm saying here, I'm just going to keep going with the arrangement. I like having those percussions in there in the drop. Maybe we can make it a little bit more sparse here. Like maybe we could have these happen kind of like this. Cool, and then we'll have the hi-hats come in here. We can also start bringing in the string, and I'll have the string be like an octave up here. Right key. All right. Cool. All right, that sounds pretty good. So I'm gonna add some more automation to the 303 here. Honestly, like a lot of times, once you have like this much of the song done, you can kind of just like duplicate it, you know, and kind of like patch that up. And because it's automation, it can be hard to notice, but I'm going to go in here just because you guys know me. And we're going to draw a new automation for this. But yeah, again, once you do it like a bit, you kind of know like where to go as well, and you don't have to just sit there and listen through the whole thing. You kind of just start drawing in lines here. But yeah. Cool. Sounds pretty sick. I believe at this stage, let's check how the mix is sounding. Like we can just kind of listen through and go through and make any like kind of extra changes we want to make. I'm going to throw a bit of EQ on this kick here and kind of... Yeah, there we go. That cleans that up. Let's give these a bit of a high-end boost. Awesome. Sounding pretty good overall. Let's add some more automations with that EQ8. Like I can take this one, which is doing that little bit of a high end or of a high pass. Cool, and then we'll do that at the end there. Cool, and then let's also check where the mix is hitting. Like we can listen at the loudest part, which is about here. And there we go, we're right between -5 and -6, like I was saying. Cool. So at this stage, it is time to do some mastering. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically just play the loudest part, which is this part. And we're going to master it. And basically, the reason why we use the loudest part is because, you know, mastering is all about getting the level up to, like, a professional standard. So you want to master the loudest part because otherwise, if you master a quieter part, then this part's going to be louder than that. You're trying to get it so, like, this is the loudest part is going to be hitting 0 dB, basically. So, first thing we're going to do here is I am going to put a little bit of EQ on the master. I'm going to just give it a bit of a low-end boost and a bit of a high-end boost. So you can hear the difference. This just helps to kind of focus the low end and the high end a bit. It really helps for like dance music to do this. I feel like it gives it that extra little like 10% of like power. After that, we're gonna add a bit of saturation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the saturator here. I'm trying to get the level even. All right, that's pretty good. But you can hear what's going on there is it's basically just fattening things up a little bit. Like it's just kind of adding a bit more kind of fatness to everything. And also like something that saturation does, if I get another one here, I can show you this. Like, okay, when you turn a saturator way up, you can hear it sounds awful. But basically what that's doing is it's just kind of like, you know, gluing everything together a bit more. Kind of like making everything a bit more like cohesive and kind of like squashed, I guess is the way I would put it. And so if you do this in kind of a smaller amount without like really blowing it out like that, you can kind of just make everything sound a bit fatter. So then after that, what we're going to do is I'm going to get some compression. We're going to turn off this makeup gain here, and I'm going to just do a light compression. We're going to turn the attack up so it doesn't mess with the transients of our sounds. Basically, the attack is how long it takes for the compression to kick in. If you have the attack up a little bit, it can kind of keep it from, you know, messing up the transients of like your kick and your percussion. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the threshold down here. And we're going to just really compress like the peaks. So here's without it. And with it, you can hear it's just helping to get the levels a little bit more even. Like, I don't like to use compression too much, but when you use it just for what it's intended for, which is just to help kind of get a more even volume level across your whole track, it can work really well. So that's what we're doing there. Cool, and then the last thing we're going to put on here is a limiter. And what I'm going to do is we're about 4 dB below 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this up +4, and now we have a track at professional volume. Basically, this just gives it a clean gain boost. Just getting the level up there. And you can see, if we do this with like a utility, it's the same thing as that actually. This isn't doing any kind of weird compression or anything like that. But if we do this with the utility, you'll see. There are some points there where it'll just go like a tiny, tiny bit over 0 dB. And this is where the limiter comes in. It'll keep it from doing that. And these are the kind of things like, you can't really prevent that. Like, that's what a limiter is really supposed to be used for. It's not like when you just throw a limiter on the master and then, you know, just get everything clipping into that. This is really just like last kind of extra final limiting. And then obviously that gain boost as well. And I'll show you, like, here's the difference too. Like, here's with no mastering. And with it. So it really does a lot for this track. Cool. Well, at this point, this is sounding pretty good. We've got a pretty tight little track here. Let's hear the whole thing from start to finish. nice one. All right, cool. Well, it was a pleasure making this track for you. I hope you guys enjoyed. I believe that is me for this one. So, as always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Let me know which style you want to see me do a track from scratch in next. As always, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI presets, everything you just saw me make and that you just heard in this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there. They'll be available there shortly. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.